TrainFest 2025 is almost here, and Tully Models will be there. Make your way to Milwaukee November 1st and 2nd, then head to the Craftsman Courtyard in the Baird Center. There you'll find demonstrations and clinics featuring the Tully Models brands, including Industrial Modeler Supply and Southern Tier Grain Modeler Supply. Plus 2 big announcements you won't want to miss. Come see for yourself how Tully Models can help bring more realism to your layout industries. Learn more about Tully Models at TrainFest 2025 at tullymodels.com. Scale signs, the signs that bring your models to life, are now available at Spring Creek Model Trains. Now you can shop a wide variety of trackside and roadside signs in Deschler, Nebraska, or at a train show near you. To see where Spring Creek Model Trains will be next, visit their website at springcreekmodeltrains.com. And to see the entire catalog of signs in N, HO, S, and O scale, head to scalesigns.com. Discover prototypical track and turnouts with the Roadmaster series from Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. Proudly made in the United States, Oak Hill's handcrafted turnouts provide unparalleled detail and accuracy, giving your layout museum-quality track work at an affordable price. Whether fully built or in easy-to-assemble kit form, Roadmaster provides all the details of real track. Looking for a custom piece of track work? Oak Hill can help with custom turnouts, diamonds, crossings, and more. Check out all of their offerings on their website, ohrtracksupply.com. ATLP Extra is our monthly newsletter delivered right to your inbox each month. Sign up for free at atlpextra.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Around the Layout, where model railroaders come to tell their story. My name is Ray Arnott. So glad you could join us. In late September, I attended the second annual Colorado Rail Proto Meet in Greeley, Colorado. It was my first time attending this new RPM hosted by the fine folks at the Colorado Model Railroad Museum, and it happened to be my first time visiting the museum as well. Coupled with the Home Shop's freelance forum, the CORPM delivered their own unique approach to a railroad prototype modelers meet, providing a wide variety of models, modelers, and vendors alike. I brought along my mic and recorder and chatted with several, and you'll hear these conversations over the next 3 weeks. Here's part 1 of our coverage of the 2025 Colorado Rail Proto Meet. Enjoy! All right, last time we spent more time talking about Isaac's hat than ever should have been talked about, but now we're back together again. Last time was St. Louis. Now we're here in Colorado with Radisson McGuire. Radisson, good to see you, my friend.
How you doing, Isaac?
Hopefully Isaac will be listening. Although, can you see Isaac cringing about all this freelance stuff? He probably is just going to hide under his bed.
He would refer to this as like the RPM of lies.
Yeah, pretty much, but I think it's an RPM of unbelievable creativity when it comes to freelance, and it definitely is appealing when you get to create your own story and be able to essentially be the owner of your own railroad and make those decisions that a prototype, great, see guys prototype modeling, but decisions have already been made for you. You've got to be able to tell a story that actually is plausible.
Yeah, and it's cool seeing, Hank is here with the Georgia Road, Joe's here with the Chinook, Sam and Archer here, and these are guys that have been friends of mine for decades, and we're all across the country, and yet again, the RPM brings us together for that rare weekend, and it is cool getting a chance to see stuff that I only see on Facebook.
Well, I want to walk through, because last time we were across the other side when we were in St. Louis talking. Now we're back in front of your work, your models that you have here on the table, and I want to talk about them. But forget all of them. Let's just talk about 50-foot high cubes. But let's go through all of them and let's talk about a little more. Actually, on a serious note, let's talk about these former Berlin Mills cars and what you've done to them.
I was wondering how long it would take you to realize those. So the Berlin Mills cars, as soon as Rapido announced them, I said, well, the Alabama Central is a paper mill road, and those are being sold to everyone and their uncle. Yeah, okay, we could use about 10 of them. And same for the Allagash card. It's all plausible. These cars have now hit their almost 50-year mark, so they're on their final road, and we're the final stop until they hit the inevitable scrap heap. But yeah, the Berlin Mills cars are cool. Those are the 5500 series. And yeah, they're the only PC&F cars in the fleet. Everything else is either Pullman Standard or Trinity rail car. The Pullman Standard and the PCF fleets, of course, are the old third and fourth hand roads. Some of them have been rebuilt. Eventually, I'll get into doing a couple of the rebuilt Berlin Mills cars with the fresh paint and maybe some vents on the doors or something like that. Same for the 5477 waffle side cars. There's two different versions of that out there and on the table here, the rebuilt ones versus the right after we got them from Southern. And then, you got the 5477s. There are two rebuilt, repainted versions. And then you got the Texas Mexican version down there that looks like it's super bleached. And then your favorites, the Trinities, the 50s and the 60-foot high cubes. I managed to swing doing a 60-footer before the show, so that was pretty cool to get a chance to finish that up. And eventually we'll move into wood chips.
Beautiful models here. I want to go back to these Berlin Mills cars, and really it goes across all of the models that you've done. I love the fact that you took different approaches to each car. You didn't do the same type patching. You didn't do the same type thing. You didn't put the logo all in the same place. Talk about that and building some variety into your weathering and your patching.
Well, that goes back to, if you look at the railroads that have them, BKTY, AGR, LRS, these are all roads I see come through Montgomery, Alabama on a weekly basis. And gathering a bunch of prototype photos of these cars, I noticed that every font is different, every patch is different, because yet again, these are on their fourth or fifth road owner. There's going to be like 18 different patch variants on these cars, and I didn't want everything to look exactly the same. Even the weathering's different on all of them. Some of them look super rusted, some of them are a little bit lighter than the others, and that's the way you see them done in real life. I mean, Ray, that's from your area, so you grew up seeing these cars, so you saw them brand new. I'm seeing them at the end of their life.
I wonder how old you think I am. I do recall seeing pictures of the Berlin Mills cars when they were new, but I have not seen them in new paint. But I do love the variety and the way that that's exactly what you see. And it doesn't matter if you're down in Alabama or you're trackside on the River Line or out in Syracuse, New York. When these cars go by, it is just a patchwork of just amazingly different cars, and now you have that created for your freelance railroad.
Yeah, and Rapido did such a great job on delivering us a pre-faded car, because I said, wow, that's 50% of my work done. And even like the Allagash cars in that same family of cars, and I'm thinking, okay, well, the Allagash is probably a little railroad that didn't survive after the 90s, and they've been sold off multiple times. And then, of course, we have the sacrilegious version of the car, which is a V&O car with the bleeder. And I've gotten so much hate for this car, but I did that for the hate. So, and then that was a fun car to do. Chris Palmieri handed me the car in Baton Rouge and said, I want to see what you can do with this. And sitting in David Perkins' basement in Zachary, Louisiana, he came up with the idea, yeah, what if we do a bleeder car? And I said, oh, yeah, let's do it. It's probably going to get me canceled, but yeah, I'll do it.
Are you like me? I love being able to be trackside and see cars just like this, where the old logo, I call it fighting back, right? They're coming back, they're fighting through that new paint, and that's exactly what you've created here, and you see it so many times out on the prototype.
I refer to it as the final stand, because these cars are about to hit their 50-year mark, and after that, they're getting scrapped. So it's kind of like and it also proves that the paint they're using isn't the best either. So if any of us ever want to buy a box car, pressure washing actually does do wonders probably. So that was definitely one of those. Spray the car with a lot of AK chipping fluid, a lot of Vallejo red, and just went to town with the toothbrush.
Awesome work here, and we'll definitely share pictures on our website, aroundthelayout.com. Now, we talk about railroad prototype modelers meets, and most folks go to rolling stock and locomotives, and you certainly have a great display of that out on as well. But then you also brought this station that you modeled, and I know this was in St. Louis as well, and we've seen some pictures of it. Let's talk a little bit more about this and the modeling you did here. Structures are a big part of this whole concept.
Yeah, so the station, and for those of you who want to see it without having to dig too deep, it's in the October issue of RMC. It actually made it into the St. Louis recap, which I was very honored. Thanks, Harry Wong, for doing that. That is the Prattville, Alabama depot. It's a former Gulf Mobile and Ohio depot, because it's a former Gulf Mobile and Ohio line. The depot still stands to this day. And you look at the windows are boarded up, it's weathered, the roof looks rough, the platform is cracked and overgrown. Oh, it looks like that in person, if not worse. I kind of held back on the weathering just a tiny bit on this one, but it's been a love-hate project for the past decade. And my buddy David Perkins came up from Zachary, Louisiana for a week, and we rail fanned, and we crashed his drone taking measurements and photos of this depot. Thanks, David, for that. And I hired a guy to CAD draw it for me, and then thank you, Kevin Tully at Steel Mill Modeler Supply. He was the only 3D printer willing to take on printing this monster, and he will attest to it was a monster of a print. You're talking, it's all in different sections, and then I had to lay the roof by hand, so all the roofing shingles are done by hand, and it was definitely a labor of love, but that's a real noticeable structure on the Alabama Central / Autauga Northern Railroad in real life, so it had to be done.
What an impact 3D printing has made on our hobby, where now instead of you trying to scratch build all of this, or maybe you would have even been turned off to the entire project without it, now with 3D printing, now it allows you to focus on doing weathering and patching of the cars. And time is valuable. It's a commodity that we never get back. So being able to have the 3D printing to be able to supplement your modeling has really got to be a huge help to you.
Oh, it's changed the game. I tell you, it's between Kevin with Steel Mill Modeler Supply, Greg at Mac Rail, Paul at Gotham Rail and Marine. Those guys take my money. You guys can have all my money for all I care, because they make some of the best products out there, and they keep pumping out just amazing stuff. And give it another 8 or 9 years, and it's going to get even better.
I can't wait to see what's next from all these folks that are creating such amazing things. And of course, it's always great to see your models and what you've created with your Alabama Central Railroad. And of course, you got stickers available, so you get extra points for that at this RPM. It was great catching up with you. I can't wait to have you on the podcast. I want to hear the entire Alabama Central Railroad story. We'll save that for a full interview down the road here. But until then, Radisson, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the Colorado Rail Proto Meet.
It's always a pleasure, Ray.
Well, you hear me talk about Spring Creek model trains a lot on the podcast, but it was neat to be able to see Mike Zucker, private citizen, operating on the Colorado Model Railroad Museum's layout last night, and have him here now to be able to chat. Good to see you, Mike.
Yeah, good to see you, Ray. It's always awesome to get to see you again. So.
Yeah, for sure. And out here in Colorado, so we both went west. You went a little west. I went a lot west, but we meet here in Colorado. And you're manning one of 3 Spring Creek model trains visits. Is anybody in Deschler right now?
There actually is. So Glenda's still at the store. Store's open today, but yeah, we're at 3 events this weekend. We got the big trailer. It's doing a Texas tour, so they're down in the Plano, Texas area. I'm out here in Colorado, and then Jeff's got a local show there in Beatrice, Nebraska, so supporting one of our local clubs. So.
Have you done 3 before in a weekend like this?
We've only ever done it probably once or twice, so it's not something we try to do. It's a very pretty intense conversation when we're planning out our schedule just to see, can we really do it? Do we have enough help, right? And all that fun stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of work, but depending on the shows, we're willing to do it. So.
Well, it's great that you were able to do that. And of course, there's plenty of inventory there in Deschler to be able to pull it off and spread it amongst 3, plus still keep the store open. You're not going to go to Deschler and see empty shelves there, I would imagine.
That is true. You hardly even notice that we took 3 trailer loads of stuff out. So it's pretty crazy when you think about that. But.
Yeah, probably didn't even make a dent in what you've got there. And, we talked about that when I was out there for your 25th anniversary event, and just blown away by the amount of inventory. But it's amazing because it does give you the opportunity to take it on the road like you have here to the Colorado Rail Proto Meet.
Yep, that is true. So that is kind of a fun part about having the inventory. We can do stuff like that.
We got Michelle Kempelman making announcements in the background. We've got a lot of things going on around here, but I really wanted to talk again about the operation session last night at the Colorado Model Railroad Museum. Have you operated on that layout prior to last night?
Yeah, so last night was my 3rd time operating on the layout. The first 2 times I just did over-the-road trains, and I did do their log turn one time up to the hill, which is an incredibly difficult job to do. And then last night I was fortunate enough to get to be the Coos Bay Yardmaster, and then my daughter showed up and was my my switch crew. So we had a good time back there, just dealt with 3 different trains, so it was a good time.
I can imagine for the first time, I'm seeing the Colorado Model Railroad Museum for the first time. It's got to be pretty intimidating to see a layout that size and operate on it and kind of get your bearings to try to figure out where things are at. But go back to the first time you operated and talk about that experience.
Yeah, so the very first time I saw it was actually their opening weekend. I don't even know how many years ago that was when Dave opened that layout up to everybody, but it is overwhelming, walking around it. It's just awe-inspiring that is a model railroad, right? I mean, it looks like the real thing, operates like the real thing. The fact that you climb all those grades, it's just pretty impressive. And then walking around, it's like you can get yourself lost, right? Or disoriented on where you're at on the railroad. And it takes you a little bit of time, right? Looking at the map, looking at a track drawing, right? Kind of getting your bearings set, but
yeah, it's for sure. And I, just as a visitor going around and seeing it, but I went up in the mezzanine and was able to get I think that's like the first good view, is to go up to the top and take a look over and kind of like orientate yourself to where things are at.
No, I would agree. Getting up high, I think that's awesome that they have that aspect for especially for a novice model railroader or somebody that's just interested in, hey, visiting a museum, like, let's go check this out. So that is just the great spot to be able to check something out and see the overview of such a huge and impressive layout, right? And then they have all the other artifacts up there, right, that they're showing off, different things that you can see, history of trains, history of model trains, right? It's just really neat. So.
Some awesome EMD builder plates up there, too. Those would be great collectibles, but beautiful that everybody gets to see them up there.
Oh, for sure. And then they got all those big metal signs, off of bridges. Right? They got some station signs in there. I can't remember all the names right now, but it's amazing, right? So it's fun. From the history aspect, it's just awesome. So
talk a little bit more about your operating session last night. You said you were the yard master there, and then you got your daughter involved. That's got to be cool. I mean, we know Spring Creek Model Trains is a family affair, but to be able to share the actual operating of trains with your daughter must have been really special, too.
Oh, it was beyond special. So she came out, met me here at the Greeley show here after her summer adventures. So came down, told her we were going to be over there at the museum, and she says, yeah, I'll meet you over there, right? And we got through the briefing, and she showed up, and I was able to be the yard master, and I was going to be the switch crew. So I was like, hey, just come back here and hang out with your dad, right? And here's the throttle. And she was having a blast. Her and I was basically the yard master conductor for her, and she moved the trains around, which was pretty amazing, right, to be able to share that. So.
Absolutely. Be able to share in the hobby is what we all love to do, and that's why we're all here at the Colorado Rail Proto Meet, to be able to share in the hobby. And amazing to walk around and see all the conversations between folks, and I'm seeing people sharing ideas and everything else. So now, and then when you're able to do it even with your own family, very special thing.
Very special, yeah. And like you said, it's awesome to see all the models around here. It's an awe-inspiring down there, walking all those white tables and seeing all the awesome modeling that's going on. And then to see the freelance aspect of it, right? Guys you see on YouTube, right? Guys you see on the social media. So it's just fun to see.
Well, it wouldn't be a conversation with you without me at least mentioning the fact that those cars must have looked absolutely huge to you. Mike being the N-scale guy, and then switching an HO layout. Was it like, working with big barbaric tools for you, or were you able to adapt?
Oh, I was able to adapt pretty fast, but, yeah, I definitely have the affinity for N-scale, right? That's what I love, right? And love the idea of being able to run big trains. And that's the cool thing about going here with the HO scale museum layout, right? Those are huge trains that look small, right, even in that place. But no, I always enjoy switching HO, right? It's still fun. Model trains are fun to me, right? So I don't care what scale it is. I'm going to operate and have a good time with it.
Yeah, I think that's the words of a true operator. We don't care about the scale.
No.
We don't care about the road. We don't care about the era. We don't everything. We love it. It's great, but we're going to come do it no matter what. And timetable train orders, track warrant, CTC, block, don't matter, ABS. We'll play by your rules. We just love the opportunity to come operate like you were able to do last night.
Oh, for sure. You hit it on the head, right? I mean, some of that operating rules, right, kind of like confuse the heck out of me, right? Because I've never done it, but I'm going to jump in and do it because that's the part of this hobby that I love is the operations part, the storytelling, right, of model trains. And I think that's one thing I love about this is just the story aspects of everybody's freelance railroad, right? And the story aspect of the OC&E there at the museum is it's awesome. And then to be a part of helping them tell that story for whatever time you're in there operating.
Well, it truly is art because you get so many different interpretations, and that's, I think, what we're getting to see going around. We did layout tours yesterday, got to see some amazing layouts, and being able to see the Colorado Model Railroad Museum and their interpretation of the line they model and the era they model and the scenery and everything else. And being able to do different operating sessions is in that same art. Their interpretation of how the railroad ran is really a cool thing to see.
Oh, for sure. And that's, we're all trying to be that part of like putting that theater on or that play on, right, within our operating session, or the dream of whatever operating session that we're hoping to put on someday, right? And we take all those little bits of what other guys have done, put it together, tell our story, help them tell their story as we do the operating session. It's fascinating to me, right? That's the part why I'm here doing these kind of things, right? Or Spring Creek model trains.
Well, that must be also the blessing of Spring Creek Model Trains and how you go to market, being able to take the hobby shop and bring it to the shows all over. So you get to see walks of life from across the continent, which is just an amazing opportunity.
Oh, yeah. And we've seen layouts from all across the country, right? Because we do travel all across the country and see different things and see different ways certain guys do it here or there or wherever, right? But it's all the commonality of being able to be there. It's all the hobby. We're all into the same thing, right? Like we said before, it doesn't really matter what scale it is. It's still model trains and still it's fun, right? And everybody does it their own way. So.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that is going to happen this weekend is my continuing education of N-Scale. As the secret is out, and I'm dabbling into some N-Scale T-Track modules, and I'm definitely going to be looking to Mike for some rolling stock and trying to figure that out as we figure out what industry we're going to put on these 3 doubles, and I'll definitely be leaning towards him and his N-Scale expertise on picking out rolling stock and being able to get that set up for some good operations even in N-Scale T-Track.
Yeah, there's all kinds of good rolling stock out there. Our manufacturers have just raised the game in N-Scale, right? I mean, when I first started, it was few and far between in N-Scale, right, to find good stuff. And now you have to hunt hard to find something that's not of quality to run. So, and that's awesome. The sky's the limit on what you want to do, right? Like you said, it's based on the industry. And the cars are out there, or they're on production. So that's the cool part. N-Scale is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it sure is, and I'm starting to have a joy with it as I'm starting to learn more, and it's fun to learn new things in the hobby, and you're learning new things obviously in events like the Colorado Rail Proto Meet, but being able to explore different scales, have an open-mindedness, and be able to have a touch in each of the things, and of course that means connecting to even more people and getting to meet more people in the hobby in different scales. That's always a fun thing to do.
Oh yeah, and through what you're doing, right, through the podcast and everything, to be able to connect us all. We're all out there, we're all loving trains, right, and we're all trying to do this hobby the way we want to do it and figure out different ways to do it, different scales, right? You might love the narrow gauge, the switching layout or whatever, right, and then you got this other guy that's running 30, 40 car trains, right, modern day stuff, and it's cool, right? I mean, it's just however somebody wants to do this hobby, there's a way to do it. There's a way to learn, right? Everybody's willing to share and teach and share in common experiences on the hobby. So,
well, I've learned a new term called rubber scaling, and there's folks that do that as well. I went to the G scale convention and found out a lot of those guys model in HO and N, and they do different things as well because they're in the game, right? They've picked the right hobby, model railroading. Now, what other scale you pick or whatever road you decide to model or what area or era or whatever, none of that matters. They're all in it, and there's so many that just cover so many different aspects of the hobby. Great to meet them. Always fun to be able to connect with folks like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you said it just perfectly there. It's great to meet and connect with everybody and talk through stuff, right? Listen to what they're doing, right? You can always take a tidbit from anybody, right, of how they're doing something that might work for you, right? And go from there. It's awesome to hear.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, it was so great seeing you out here in Colorado at the Colorado Rail Proto Meet, and we're going to get over there and we're going to take a look at some of those N-Scale rolling stock.
All right. Sounds good, Ray. Good to see you again.
Well, it's great to run into yet another familiar face from Around the Layout podcast. Brian Sopke, great to see you again.
Good to see you, Ray. How you been?
I've been doing great, and it's great to be here at the Colorado Rail Proto Meet, out here amongst all these awesome models and modelers and vendors and everybody that's into the hobby, just geeking out for a whole weekend and being able to share information with each other and see what we've created and then help the next person create. So doing absolutely fantastic, and I wanted to come over here. You and I are set up together. We put the ATLP 2022 car out. It's right next to your models on display. I want to give a chance to you to walk through what you brought here on display. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, well, I brought both Benton and Southern Power, which was my freelance railroad, as well as I brought some Arkansas Valley Power, some of which is from my layout, and others are from Joe Loggins, the creator of the Arkansas Valley.
Let's start back here. Let's talk about some of these locomotives that you have here for the Benton and Southern. Tell us what we're looking at here.
Okay, this first row are SD40 rebuilt locomotives. They're Athearn ready-to-roll models that have been custom decaled for the Benton and Southern. They represent the only 6-axle power on the Benton and Southern, used for heavy grain trains on the Clarksville branch.
Awesome stuff. And then you got them coupled here together on the table. We'll share pictures of them on aroundthelayout.com. Let's look at the next row here. What do we got here? 201, 204, 202. What do we got?
Those are brand new GP30s from Scale Trains. Scale Trains hit a home run with these locomotives. These represent road switcher service units. I'm calling them GP39Ms, which are rebuilt by Morrison Knutson in the early 90s. Started off with Chicago Great Western GP30s that have since been relettered and rebuilt for the Benton and Southern.
Talk about the process here. You talked about these are a release from Scale Trains. Talk about the process of turning them into Benton and Southern units.
Well, being that the Chicago Great Western and the Benton and Southern paint scheme is almost identical, it made it actually very easy. Started with taking Solvaset on a paper towel and soaking the Chicago Great Western markings for about 10 minutes. And then I used a fiberglass pencil eraser to remove the actual lettering, and then clear coated it and added Benton and Southern decals.
Awesome. Well, it'll look fantastic. And then I see a little bit of patchwork on the next set of locomotives with the 305 in Benton and Southern colors. Talk about those.
So the 304 and 305 are former Rock Island units that the Benton and Southern acquired when the Rock Island went bankrupt and we took over the lines south of Little Rock, one of which I left in a faded, weathered Rock Island scheme that's just patched and renumbered, and the second unit is a full-blown repaint. The models are both Atlas. The weathered one is been custom weathered by Rob Arsenault up in Canada of Weather My Trains.
Well, excellent work by Rob on the weathering, excellent work here on the modeling. And then in front of those, that's a familiar scheme. I see some creamsicle colors there in the Illinois Central, but they've been patched.
Yes, the Benton and Southern acquired a dozen Paducah GP10s from the Illinois Central in the early 80s when they were dumping them at bargain basement prices, and we simply just patched them, never got around to repainting them. Those were also weathered by Rob Arsenault. The guy did an amazing job with them, and I have nothing but good things to say about his weathering. Yeah, the Intermountain did a great job with these. I see they just announced a new second production run of the Jeep 10s with some refined details, so I'm excited to get some more.
Awesome stuff. And then in front of that, yet another patched unit in the Southern Pacific.
Yes, that one is a Walthers GP35. Number 2501. It came to the Benton and Southern from the Southern Pacific, obviously. I have lobotomized it, as they call it, by removing the red oscillating light and the Mars light and just having all that's left being the regular headlight. I also weathered it using a combination of powders and acrylics.
And last but not least, on the BNS side, you have a specially painted unit. Tell us about the 250.
The 250 is the Benton & Southern's sesquicentennial unit. It is red, white, and blue, reminiscent of the bicentennial schemes of the 1970s. The model is actually an Atlas B40-8, and it was actually done by Atlas, that paint scheme, for the Spirit of America, is I believe what they called it, and it came out right after 9/11. I simply removed the Spirit of America information and renumbered the locomotive to 250.
Well, very awesome. Very cool roster that you have here. Let's talk real quick about the Arkansas Valley locomotives that we have over here as well.
Okay. The first locomotive is a Rapido GE 44-tonner, number 22, and it was completed by Joe Loggins. He asked me to bring a couple of his AV units to represent for the freelance forum here. And basically it was a industrial blue model that Rapido offered. He painted the cab, added a Stratolite beacon to the roof, and added a current keeper and other internal details and it runs beautifully.
Awesome, awesome stuff. And then we get the 458 behind it and some nice weathering on that locomotive.
Thank you. The 458 is an old Atlas yellow box C425. Joe painted the locomotive probably 20 or 30 years ago. And he was purging some older locomotives. I acquired it. I replaced the chassis with a more modern Atlas product that had the ESU Loc sound in it. I added the rotating Stratolite beacon from Aaron Heine Products. I don't know if he's back in business yet or not. He was talking about it. And then I weathered it using powders and acrylics with methods I learned from Mike Confalone.
758 is sitting behind that.
The 758 is an Athearn SD60. This is another one that Joe has done the modeling on. He has a full custom paint job, lots of details added, and it features Soundtrack Tsunami sound with current keeper, and it just, another fantastic runner.
Awesome. And then behind this, I see some differences here. Instead of the typical AV logo that you have on the rest of the Power, there's a very cursive font on the long hood. Talk about that.
Okay, so the first three units are in what is called the Sporandio blue and white paint scheme, named after model railroader editor Andy Sporandio. These last two units are in the modern Arkansas Valley scheme, and they represent a brighter shade of blue, and they feature a script lettering instead of the AV logo on the long hoods. These are both Atlas models and have been re-lettered and added Operation Lifesaver decals and so forth.
Well, very beautiful models you got here, Brian. It was great talking to you about them and catching up and seeing more of the Benton & Southern, seeing you here in person. Of course, they can find out more about you on Around the Layout podcast. Brian, thank you so much for spending time with me here at the Colorado Rail Proto Meet.
Thank you so much, Ray. It was actually nice to finally meet you in person, and can't wait to see what you come up with for the rest of the meet.
I'm starting to have a suspicion that the Colorado Rail Proto Meet was created so that you guys would have a home game and you'd be able to do these train shows without traveling. Here's another guy who gets to call this his home turf. That's George Bogatiuk from Soundtracks. George, great to see you again.
Always fantastic to see you as well. It's been, a couple months?
It's been, well, let's see. It'd be Deschler, right? We hung out in Deschler. We stayed at the hotel, which was the hotel. Because, what choices do you have? You had like that or sleep on the Zucker's living room floor, right? That was the two choices you had.
Yeah, exactly. And we've stayed at that hotel every time, and we always have a great time. And we meet down in the lobby and just hang out and just enjoy itself and relax and have fun.
I think if the Zuckers allowed us to put sleeping bags out in Spring Creek model trains, it would be fun, but I think the other problem is we wouldn't get any sleep because we would be just walking around all night checking stuff out.
I think that's probably an accurate assessment. And then you put all of us together, we'd never get sleep because we'd be having too much fun harassing each other.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time at the hotel in Deschler and, of course, at the Spring Creek 25th event. And now, fast forward, which just seemed like last week we were in Deschler, Nebraska. So go from Deschler, Nebraska and flash forward. Now we're in Greeley, Colorado at the Colorado Rail Proto Meet, right in your backyard.
Essentially, yes. I mean, we're down in Durango. We're in the southwest corner of the state. So it's about 6.5, 7 hour drive, depending on how you drive. So it's a little bit of a longer distance, but yeah, it's kind of our backyard. We've been in Colorado now for over 25 years, I believe, is when they moved the company down somewhere in the mid-90s. Our company was originally founded in Massachusetts, and then we moved down to Colorado. We were in a suburb of Denver, and then we moved to Durango. The owners fell in love with Durango because of its rural charm and, of course, the narrow gauge. We have that nasty old steam engine running through town that we got to wait for every now and then on the crossing. You just have no idea how difficult that is.
Yeah, it's like I live in a town the same thing where people are complaining about the Providence and Worcester blocking a crossing. I'm like, what's the big deal? What's the big deal, folks? I mean, that's until I'm late for work, and then I kind of understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, exactly. The good news is because we work in the model train industry, oh, darn, I got stuck by the train. Okay, that's about it.
Yeah, it was research. I clocked in early and I started doing research. That's the excuse to make, right?
Sure, why not? Let's go with it.
Awesome stuff. So a display right here from Soundtracks. You brought some stuff to show the folks. I see a couple tablets here. Tell us what's going on.
So as we talked about in Deschler, we have our Blue Nami. And so the Blue Nami app has actually been updated for both Android and Apple platforms. And so the original Apple app is now called Blue Nami Classic. And then now we have the new Blue Nami app, and it's a lot more stable, has a lot more improvements built into it. Things like copy CVs, so I can take a locomotive in a matter of minutes, have two locomotives exactly the same. We're talking a minute and a half. You can have different background colors. You can go in and name all the functions. There's other new features and functionalities, function mapping, renaming functions, all that's easy. The consisting is what really sells it, because the consisting is so much easier in the new app as well, where it basically takes the hard work of building an advanced consist and hides it behind the app, and the app does all the hard work for you. And you just tell it, I want this to be the lead, here's the middle units, and then here's the trailing units, and the app does the work. You go to town and just run trains and have fun.
Talk about changing over. So we've known Tsunami, then Tsunami 2, and now we have Blue Nami. Talk about upgrading and the process of that as you've made these progressive steps forward.
Sure, there's always going to be customers that come up with something they want. Some particular feature we may have either decided we didn't want to put into the decoder for whatever reason, whether it be mechanics or processor speed or whatever it is, or something maybe we hadn't thought about. But since we did the Tsunami 2, let me back up. The first Tsunami was actually out for about 7 or 8, 9 years, something like that. And we started getting end of life cycle on some of the parts. So it was kind of like, okay, now we have to get serious about upgrading. So we put a whole lot of thought into it, and we really upgraded the Tsunami 2. That now we're about 8, 9 years into the Tsunami 2, and still I can count on one hand the number of things customers have asked me that the decoder can't do. And 3 of them are mine. So they're on my wish list, and I'm not going to tell anybody what they are. I don't want to give anybody any ideas. But for the most part, we've tried to build as much flexibility into it. So when we talk about the Blue Nami, it is still a Tsunami 2. So you get all the features, all the benefits, everything that the Tsunami 2 has, sounds, adjustments, everything. But now the Blue Nami takes all those adjustments and puts it into a graphic user interface that's easy to use. So rather than trying to go in and program different CV values to create lighting effects or sound selections, I don't care about CVs anymore. I can use the user interface. I go to settings, I click on sound, click on main sounds, and there's my horn. I don't care what CV number, I click it, it gives me the list of all the horns. I scroll through there, find the horn I want, I pick it, it plays it so I can hear it. When I like it, I hit OK, and the app's setting CVs in the decoder, so those settings are stored in the decoder. I don't need to use CVs, but the decoder's making the adjustments. So now I can get out of the app and start running with my DCC system, and it'll run just like I set it up on the app, or I can just run it on the app and you can make changes on the fly. So if you're running your train somewhere and you decide, well, it's not loud enough or it's too loud, you just make the change on the fly and you're good to go. And you don't have to worry about programming CVs or the fear of somebody thinking you're programming CVs on the main or anything like that, because you are, but you're not following the DCC commands. You don't have to worry about anything being broadcast.
So talk about the technology of range here. So, you know, we're not using our typical connection to this. We're using Bluetooth. Talk about how that whole protocol kind of works and the fact of range when it comes to operating. It's like in say a club environment.
Mm-hmm. Of course. So most people, when they hear Bluetooth, they think of their headphones. And that gives about, something like 3 meters, which is roughly about 10 feet, or 30 feet or something like that. 10 meters. Which is 30 feet. Sorry, first day of my new brain. Anyway, but most people hear that when they hear Bluetooth. But what it is that this is using a slightly different variation of Bluetooth. It's still paired communication, but this is for data transfer. It's called Bluetooth Low Energy, BLE. And what it does, everybody who has a smartwatch or a Fitbit or any of those type of things, it's using that same technology. And so it's paired, but it's data transfer. So when it comes to BLE, it actually is using a different protocol, so I've got a wider range. So I can go, we advertise up to 100 feet. But on our YouTube video, you go to soundtracks.com and search, youtube.com, search Soundtracks Range, and you'll see a video we did outside of our building where I went 147 foot and had connection to my locomotive. I took that one extra step and boop, lost connection. So about 147 foot. Now, to be fair, that was straight line of sight in a plastic model. There's going to be variations, which is why we use the term up to. Things like, wire mountain formations or brass models may reduce the range a little bit, but as long as you have a half-inch range around the Bluetooth chip, you shouldn't lose anything of any significance. But the range is reliable, and you can talk to, because of the way the protocol is set up, you can talk to any number of locomotives that you can keep track of. So if you want to run 10 locomotives individually, you can run 10 locomotives individually, or you can do up to 4 consists of any number of locomotives on one device. So if you had another device over at my house, we could run 8 trains together, and none of them would be interfering with each other because they're all that paired communication.
Excellent, excellent. So as we walk around the Colorado Rail Proto Meet, and of course other shows that you and I both attend, we've both been to Amherst, we've both been to a multitude, and these locomotives that are coming out today, it's no longer just a headlight. And it's no longer, there are multiple amount of functions on that. Talk about how Blue Nami is able to work with all of that type of function.
Of course. So the Blue Nami with decoders, we have up to 8 lighting outputs, and they can be used for whatever purpose you want to do. Things like, of course, ditch lights, you can do number boards, things. I have some models where I've got the step clearance, walkway lights, courtesy lights, things like that, including things like a blue flag light in the cab and a red emergency in the modern day GEVOs. So I use all 8 functions on there, and you can go into the app and rename the functions. So instead of seeing a list of FX4, FX5, FX6, whatever, you can rename that. So it can be ditch lights, number boards, truck lights or ground lights, courtesy lights, whatever you want them to be, you can do that. And then you can remap them using the app to any button you want. So normally our lights are assigned to 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28 because normally you turn on ditch lights and you leave them throughout the entire run, and then when you end your run you turn your ditch lights off. So that way with most DCC systems it's a multiple button press, but with the app you just click the FX4, FX5, whatever, but you can rename that as ditch lights, and so it's easy to find. But you can move them anywhere you want. So if you want to move them onto the front screen, because there's 28 functions, so the first screen is the 14 functions, the second screen is the next 14 or 15 to 28, and you can reassign these any way you like, and the app will auto-populate those, or you can go in and name them and then put lock name where it'll force it to stay that name, whatever. So there's a lot of flexibility for you to customize the decoder to perform the way you want it to, and all of that can be done through the app. There's no longer you have to deal with CVs, and I can't stress that enough, because one of the biggest things we encounter when we're doing customer support, talking to customers on the phone, we love doing it, but a lot of customers are afraid to change CVs. They really, when you say, hey, I need to change CV to this, CV to that, you kind of get this a little bit of quiet, well, I guess I don't really need it all that much. I'll live without it. And you're like, no, I literally just told you how to fix the issue. But as soon as you use the term CVs, they kind of get scared and nervous that they're going to do something wrong. Well, a couple of things. One, you can't break our decoders by changing CV values. We do extensive work in our engineering department to make sure that there's safeguards. So like, for example, our steam decoder has 90 whistles. If you accidentally try to choose whistle 95, the decoder's like, nope, that's not a choice, and defaults it back. So you don't break your decoder looking for data that doesn't exist. But when you're changing the decoder using CVs, then you have not only the CV values and so forth, but now you have to figure out how to use your command station. But the app will actually clean that up. So if I want to move my lights to a different button, I just open up the FX4 and it pulls up a chart where all 28 functions there, and I just click the one I want, it checkboxes it, okay, there, the app did the work behind the scenes. So if I want to move my FX4 to say the 5 key, I just click that, the 5, and boom, the app does the work for me. It's really easy.
I overheard you as you were talking to one of the attendees here at the Colorado Rail Proto Meet about the cost difference, and you said, most people think, okay, more expensive, more complicated, but that is certainly not the case with Blue Nami.
Absolutely not. And there is a little bit of a price difference. It's about a $30 to $35 price difference on average, MSRP. So when you find it discounted at retailers, surely that's a little bit less than $30 to $35 price difference. So people think that the Blue Nami is actually more complicated, but it's actually, it takes all the hard stuff and puts it behind a clean graphic user interface to make it easy and more fun so that you can get to running trains rather than having to become a software programmer and trying to figure out how to do all the bits and adding up the values and all this stuff. It really is easier because I hear people will say, well, I'm looking at Tsunami 2, but I'm not advanced enough for Blue Nami. I'm like, actually, it's the other way around. The Tsunami 2, because it's CV based, is actually a little bit more complicated to use than the Blue Nami, because the Blue Nami takes all that and hides it behind the graphic interface.
When I started this interview, I said that the last time I had saw you was Deschler, but that's actually not true, because I've been seeing you in my YouTube feed. Tell me why I've been seeing you popping up on YouTube and what you guys have been up to.
All right, well, that's fair. Yeah, we do have a YouTube channel for our soundtracks. We do post videos every week, and they're usually designed to be tutorials to kind of show you a particular feature, kind of what's involved to make the adjustments and the settings. And of course, there's also, we're trying to promote our products too. So there's a lot of Blue Nami features and things like that we want to show you that, hey, this is how easy it is to use. But there's other things like, for example, we did a video not long ago talking about momentum and braking, which trains are big, heavy machines. They don't start and stop on a dime. So by playing with and adding some momentum, you can get some more realistic sounds out of the decoder because of our dynamic exhaust, which will automatically adjust the exhaust tone and in the case of a diesel, the engine notching based on what the locomotive's doing. And we show you those features because we want to show you what the decoder's capable of so that you can be the arbiter and decide how much or how little of those features you want to use. But we try to be as informative and easy to go as possible so that if you get the information and you know a particular feature exists, you can now go to our user's guide or call us and we'll walk you through and show you how to set up the feature so that you can get the models to work the way you want to.
All right, and tell us where we can find all of this.
So you're going to start at soundtracks.com. You can find all of our products there. We actually encourage you to go to the retailers. We want to make sure we keep the hobby stores like Spring Creek or whoever else in business. We want to make sure that those guys are operating. But you can purchase direct on our website if you don't have a store that's nearby or whatever that you want to use. But you can find all of the information there as well. So under support, you'll see a link to manuals and then to or documentation information and then manuals, and then you can go to the various product lines, Blue Nami, Tsunami 2, Econami. We have a sound card decoder, we have motor decoders, we have all kinds of accessories and stuff like that, and you can find all kinds of information about all of that on our website. And then on YouTube, you just go to youtube.com, search Soundtracks Videos, and we should pop up there with our logo. And like I said, we've been posting videos every week, so there's over 600 videos that are on there. If you search Soundtracks and say momentum and braking, you'll see probably 4 to 6 videos that pop up that talk about the topic. So this should help you when it comes to setting up your features to get the best out of your models.
Well, awesome, and we'll share all of those links on our website, aroundthelayout.com. George, let's go have some barbecue.
That sounds like a great idea. I'm hungry.
And that's a wrap on part 1 of our coverage of the 2025 Colorado Rail Proto Meet. You can find all the links and images related to this show on our website, aroundthelayout.com/190. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week with part 2 of our coverage of the 2025 Colorado Rail Proto Meet. See you then. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Around the Layout. Learn more about today's episode, check out past shows, and much more on our website, aroundthelayout.com. Show your support by becoming an operating crew member at aroundthelayout.com/crew. Follow us on social media, aroundthelayout.com/social. And send us your feedback, aroundthelayout@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out with us around the layout.